Hello everybody, my name is KRSpeed, and today I want to share with you guys my top 10 favorite Pokemon from Generation 1. I've never done a video like this, so I'm sorry if it sucks, but I just want to share with you guys my favorite Pokemon. Just to clarify, this doesn't mean they're the top 10 strongest Pokemon, this doesn't mean they're the top 10 best Pokemon. These are just the ones I personally like the most, the ones that resonated with me the most, and the ones to this day that I like more than any of the other Pokemon in Generation 1. To this day, I still remember the first time I ever saw Pokemon in my life. My brother one day came home with Pokemon cards and says, "We need to check these out. Everyone's hanging out and playing with these cards. We should look at them as well." So he pulled out a pack that he got from the store, pulled out his first card from this pack, and it was just a regular Kakuna. Nothing special about it at all, but I loved it. I don't know what it was about this Kakuna, but I loved it. I don't remember any other cards in that pack, but I do remember one thing. My brother had an interest in Pokemon for maybe 4 or 5 days. I pretty much stole his Pokemon cards and started a collection of my own. He wasn't too mad about it, don't worry. But it was just funny that he was the one who got me into Pokemon and never really stuck with it, but it was me that played all the games, collected all the cards, and just had a ton of fun with it. And I want to share with you guys my top 10 favorite Pokemon. There's a lot of them to choose from. I tried to narrow it down to 10, and here are the ones I came up with, starting with number 10, Neto King. First off, with Neto King, I had gotten in many arguments with friends at school over the pronunciation of his name. I never knew if it was Neto King, Nido King. We could never figure it out. It was always just an argument with kids at school, and we never knew what to say. I think the reason I liked him so much was because he was just badass looking. I mean, you can't beat a Pokemon that looks like this. He's so cool. Also, he was one of the first Pokemon cards I got in holographic form, and just seeing that sparkling, awesome-looking card, it really made me fall in love with him. Unfortunately, mine wasn't first edition like the one in this picture, but it was still really cool to have, and I love this Neto King so much. Next on my list, at number 9, is Chauncey. The reason I like Chauncey so much actually stems from me playing Fire Red growing up. I really wanted to get a Chauncey. I don't know why, but I think it was the rarity of the fact that Chauncey had a 1% chance of spawning in the Safari Zone. I hope I got that right. I'm not the biggest expert on Pokemon, but I remember that being true. So my friend and I had a sleepover one night. Nothing crazy happened, guys, don't worry. But we played Pokemon, and we each caught a Chauncey, and it was just hours spent trying to get one to spawn, and then once one finally spawned, you had to throw balls in it and hope it didn't flee from you. Finally, we both caught one, and then my friend actually went able to catch 4 more that night. I don't know why I needed 4 of them, but he did catch 4 of them, and it was pretty cool that we had them. We both leveled up to level 100, and we were just so happy that we had level 100 Chaunceys. Chauncey obviously being cool because it has so much HP. I personally don't even think Chauncey's the coolest looking Pokemon. It was mostly the rarity that made me like it, and I was just so happy I had one. And coming in at number 8, we have Pidgeot. The reason I like Pidgeot has nothing to do with how it performs, what it looks like, or anything like that. I just, for some reason, have always been able to draw Pidgeot. I can't draw any other Pokemon really besides a Voltorb and Electrode because anyone can draw those. But I just have always had a fascination with drawing this Pokemon. Even in school growing up, I would just draw Pidgeot. When I got bored, I would just put them on the side of my paper, on the side of my notes, whatever I needed to do to get the class to go by quicker because a lot of times it was very boring. Even recently, I would stream the game H1Z1. Whenever I died in that game, I'd have some downtime waiting for my friends to die, and I would bring up a Microsoft Paint and start drawing Pidgeot. And the picture doesn't look too good because it's done in paint, but if you give me a pen and pencil, I can do it a hell of a lot better, even though it's still not perfect. I really wanted to put it higher on my list of top 10 favorite Pokemon, but simply for the fact that I like drawing it, can't justify putting it higher than any of the other Pokemon on the list because I really like the ones coming up. This is where things might get a little controversial, guys. I personally do not like legendary Pokemon. I run a Pixelmon series on my channel right now, and I'm using a few on my team, probably because they're good. And also, I don't like starter Pokemon. You won't see any starters or any other legendaries on this list, except for this one right here at number 7. The Pokemon is Articuno. I'm not sure why, but I've always loved how Articuno has looked. Articuno, to me, stands out way more than Moltres or Zapdos, and I still remember the first time I realized that Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres made Uno Dos Tres. I was playing Gears of War, I was playing a long time ago by myself, and 3 guys came into my game, and they were on the other team, and their names were Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. But they had Uno, Dos, and Trace in their gamer tags in full caps and everything else in lowercase, and it hit me. I'm like, oh my god, Uno, Dos, Trace. So I thought that was really cool. I know it's a little bit of a sidetrack from Articuno itself, but I just have always thought Articuno looked like the cutest bird. And I know that I lose some credibility saying it's cute, but it is just adorable. I love that bird so much, and it's just always been my favorite legendary Pokemon. Not that any Pokemon have ever really contended with it in the legendary status, just because I never really got into legendary Pokemon, but I just really, really like Articuno, and he's a really cool Pokemon. And sadly, to this day, there's still some people that don't know the Uno Dos Tres thing, which really blows my mind. And these are the same people that don't realize that Arbok is Cobra backwards, and Ekans is Snake backwards, and Muck is Cum backwards. Next on my list, at number 6, is Scyther. I don't know what to say here, guys. I never really enjoyed battling with Scyther, but look at him. He has to be one of the coolest looking Pokemon. I have never met anyone that does not like what Scyther looks like. Unfortunately, I really dislike Scyther's evolution. I've always thought it was quite a shame that that's what he evolved into. It always made me kind of sad. But either way, Scyther by himself has to be one of the coolest looking Pokemon. If I was ever just walking through the forest one day, came up on this guy, and just saw him, I would sprint the other direction so quickly, and I'm not even too afraid of bugs, but this thing looks like it could kill you so easily, and I love it so much. Next on my list, at number 5, we have Dragonite. Dragonite to me was always the most challenging Pokemon I played against growing up. So I would get to the Indigo Plateau, everything was going great, and then I reached the champion Lance, right? And I see his first Dragonite. That's not too big of a deal, I'm able to take it out, I'm thinking this battle's going smoothly. And then he throws out another one. I was just so scared by this because it took everything it could for me to battle this first one. I was using full revives left and right, trying to get my Pokemon back to finally take this thing out. I kill it, I'm thinking we're in the clear now, and he pulls out another one. And it was at that moment I'm like, I would like a Dragonite on my team. That would be something I would love to have. Also, my recollection's a little fuzzy, but if I can remember correctly, didn't Lance have some, like, illegal Dragonites? Shouldn't they have still been Dragonairs by the level they were? I'm not sure how that all works. I'm not going to get into the Pokenomics of all that. But either way, guys, I had always wanted a Dragonite, and I never really had one on my team in any of the games I played until recently I started playing Pixelmon, and my buddy Sidearms traded me a Dragonite in that, and I got him up to level 100, and I love my Dragonite on that series, and he's just one of my favorite Pokemon to battle with. But I've always thought he kind of looked derpy, but at the same time he looked cool to me, and I could never really describe why I liked him so much, because he is a pretty derpy looking Pokemon. But I love him, he's awesome, and I love having him on my team in Pixelmon. Coming in at number 4 on the list is Gengar. There's a lot of awesome Pokemon, but Gengar is very, very high up there. Just the way he is, the way he acts, the way he licks stuff, his animations, everything about him I've always just loved. The way he was in the animes, the way he was in the games, just how he looks to me is so cool. And plus, Ghost-type Pokemon are awesome. You can't beat Ghost-type Pokemon. Probably one of my favorite typing. I've never been good at battling with them because I'm stupid, but I've just always loved Gengar. And as you can tell, I'm getting riled up just talking about him. I can't formulate sentences. Nothing I'm saying is making sense, but that's the way Gengar makes me feel. I just love him so much. I also wanted to put Haunter and Ghastly on this list, but I really struggle with that because I can't put 3 Pokemon of the same evolution on the same list. That just wouldn't be fair because there's so many other Pokemon to choose from, but I do love Haunter almost more than Gengar, to be honest. But Gengar's stronger, cooler, and I have to give him the slot on the list at number 4. We have now hit the top 3 of our list here, and coming in at number 3 is Gyarados. Guys, Gyarados, you can't beat this Pokemon, except for the other 2 on this list, but I really like Gyarados. I mean, look at Gyarados, guys. He's awesome looking. You can't beat this thing. It's a flying water dragon. And for many unfortunate people like me who never ever came across shiny Pokemon, because I've never had the fortunate chance of running into one in the wild, even though I've played millions and millions of hours on Pokemon. Probably not millions, but I played a lot of Pokemon, never ran across the shiny Pokemon in the wild. But luckily the game all gave us Gyarados, a red shiny Gyarados at Lake Rage. So he was my first shiny Pokemon. I know the appeal of it kind of dies down when everyone has a red Gyarados, but it was still fun for me to have a Pokemon that wasn't the color it was supposed to be. I always thought that was so cool. And Gyarados was the first holographic Pokemon card I ever got. And look at this, guys. That is a badass Pokemon card. I'm sure a lot of people had this one, but I just loved it so much. He's so cool, and that's why he gets the number 3 spot on my list. Also, Mega Gyarados is fucking sick, and I'm not factoring Mega Evolutions into this list at all, but Mega Gyarados is pretty awesome. He looks like a giant flying shrimp. And coming in at number 2 on the list is Beedrill. He may not be the strongest Pokemon in the world, but to me, he has always just been the coolest looking Pokemon. I know Mega Evolutions aren't factoring into this list at all, but guys, look at Mega Beedrill. Could there be a cooler Pokemon? Seriously, that is the coolest Pokemon. I don't care what anyone says. I love Mega Beedrill. Anyway, Beedrill itself is pretty cool too, so let's digress from Mega Beedrill. The reason I like Beedrill, not just because he looks cool, is because I used to play Pokemon Yellow. It was the first game I had, and my Pikachu could not beat Brock at the first gym. It was just impossible, so I enlisted some help. I went out and got a Weedle. I turned it into Kakuna, and I leveled that thing up until I had a Beedrill, and I took that Beedrill and I shit on Brock with it. And it was awesome. It felt so good. And then I kind of hardly played with my Pikachu. I never really leveled him up because I never liked starters. And in any of the games I played, I hardly ever used starters, which is weird because I use a Charizard on my team right now in Pixelmon, which I kind of feel dirty using, but it's a shiny Charizard and I love it. Anyway, Beedrill was the Pokemon on my team in Pokemon Yellow that I got to level 100 first, and I loved it so much, and it was just so cool to me, and he was just forever gonna have a little spot in my heart. I love you, Beedrill. And the moment you've all been waiting for, the #1 Pokemon on my list of top 10 favorite Pokemon in Generation 1, it is Flareon. Flareon, to me, has always had a sentimental value. First off, I'm a cat lover. I've never been a dog lover, and the evolutions have always really resonated with me. Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon are all awesome to me, but Flareon is the one I like the most, and I didn't want to put 3 of them on the list, or even 2 of them. I just wanted to put 1. The reason Flareon is so high on my list is because of sentimental reasons. I used to have a cat named Lily. She passed away a few years ago, but she was an orange and white kitty cat, and I always thought she looked like a Flareon. I've also begged my mom millions of times to let me call my cat Flareon as opposed to Lily, even though I did like the name Lily because my cat looked like a tiger, Tiger Lily. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Either way, Mother was never really a big fan of changing my cat's name halfway through owning it, so we never got to change the name to Flareon, but secretly I called her Flareon a few times. But yes, that is why I love Flareon so much. It always reminds me of my late cat Lily, and it just really holds a dear spot in my heart. Lily was the best cat I could ever have, and I miss her dearly. Anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for my top 10 list. If you guys want to see more top 10 lists from me, let me know. I will happily put them together for you if you have any suggestions. Also, I would love for you guys to get into it in the comments section below and put your top 10 Pokemon, and feel free to give us a short reason why you like each one in that position. But you can number them, you can do whatever you want, you can just put your favorite Pokemon. It would just be cool to see what everyone's liking and maybe respond to each other and let you guys know if you agree with their decisions of who they like the most or not. I think that would be a fun thing to check out in the comment section. I look forward to reading it. I will see you guys next time. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed something like this, because this is not a normal video for me, but if people like it enough, I would love to do more stuff like this because it's fun, and I like putting pictures on the screen while I talk about Pokemon. So yeah, guys, I'll see you guys next time, and bye-bye.